trying to be more vulnerable and human. And it's hard.
I know you struggled with that a little bit in this podcast.
God, you like to just take those daggers and drive it in there, don't you?
Well, yeah, but it's with love.
But I'm not going to sit here and cry all over your podcast like an Oprah show.
Oh, no, but you don't need to. Oh, but yeah, I do want to be like, I like Oprah's vibe in that way.
No, she makes everybody cry. We're going to get into this crazy personal stuff.
That's what I love. That's what we do on Create with
some
Kate.
Real estate stuff.
All right, we are back on Create with Kate, and I am super excited to have a special guest today, Justin Brennan, who is a multifamily investor and a dad. He creates some pretty amazing content on investing, but also with his kids. And I got to give a shout out to Brody, because you are hilarious, and Everly, yes.
Yeah, so, they're the co-creators and.
They're your secret sauce, yeah.
Secret sauce.
They
get all mad when one's like on the podcast more than the other.
Right. They're like, hello, I'm way better, right?
Clearly, Dad.
Let's see who gets more likes. Yeah. No, that's not right. We shouldn't make the children compare themselves.
Yes,
but anyway, super excited, and we're gonna get into lots of topics on really just life, and a little bit about content, a little bit about real estate. So,
life, love, and rock and roll.
Yeah, rock and roll.
And real estate and kids and all that fun stuff.
So I have a lot of questions about the coaching or what do you call it? You call it mentorship. Yeah. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
But yeah, the last year was an amazing growth year, like just personal growth year.
For you? Yeah.
Yeah, 2023 was a huge growth year, just personally learning about all kinds of things. I hadn't done therapy in probably 10, 12 years.
Okay.
So initiating that was incredible.
What led to that?
Relationships.
Okay. Ooh, good. Let's get into that.
Which then triggered self-awareness and just trying to figure some things out with that.
Are you dodging the question?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we should probably discuss this because when I reviewed your content, you are vulnerable and transparent for the most part, and I love that you share your kids because they're hilarious, but I think that that's great to like see someone. I help people build personal brands, and that's such an important piece to share who you are personally, not just professionally, right?
Yep.
But
like dribbles of it, right? And,
I mean, you don't want to be all personal, but people if they like you, then they trust you, right? And then they'll want to do business with you.
That's right.
So, so you're a father, obviously. It doesn't appear that you have a wife. So, have you gone through divorce, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's been about 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, married for 7 years. Got divorced technically right before COVID.
Oh, wow.
Or separated, I should say. And
okay.
Didn't plan that one.
How old were the kids at the time?
3 and 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we've been really good, amicable about just wrapping our arms around the kids.
Yep.
Focusing on them.
The co-parenting and.
Yeah, and that's been good.
That's
great.
Probably
one thing we can agree and focus on beautifully.
Yeah.
And she's a great person and a great mother. We just aren't good together.
A good fit together, yeah.
And didn't share similar visions for kind of where we were at and where we wanted to go.
So it's funny you say that. I was just talking to someone about this earlier about if I could go back and tell like my younger self something, because I have a similar story.
Yeah.
My kids are 7 and 10 now, but
so mine's 7 and 9.
Oh, okay.
So right there.
Oh, they're the same age.
Yeah.
Well, almost. But I was talking about if I could go back in time, instead of, well, of course you want to focus on values, right? Like I think most people know that when you're selecting a partner. I didn't do a great job of that one, even though that's pretty standard, right? But more importantly, or in addition, I should say, a growth plan for like where do you want to go and what does that like look like for you and what's the ceiling or is there one, and really talking about that because if you're not of the same mindset there, then you, as we grow and evolve and change, you're just going to grow apart if you don't have the same vision for that. And I think a lot of people struggle with
and
that.
I think it starts with core value systems, right? So someone would ask you, like if I were to ask you, name 3 core values of yours, like the top 3. You have many, but what are your top 3?
Yeah, my top 3 would be integrity, connection, like relationships, genuine relationships that, that are just lasting. Like people are number 1 to me. So yeah, relationships, integrity, and family.
Okay. Yeah, mine are freedom, honesty, and family.
Yeah, I like that.
Sure.
Oh, I like freedom.
Yeah, like freedom for everybody. Just that's like my number 1 core value. So that way, freedom of choice, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of whatever, right? Freedom. So.
No, I think that's great. So going back to what you were saying, you were right before COVID.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of respect, obviously, for the mother of your children, but you weren't
and then
aligned.
Went through that, which is not fun.
No.
As anybody that's gone through it can recognize. But, came out of that and, like I said, amicable, working together to focus on the children and all of that. And then, 2020, which we can almost all forget that year if we really wanted to.
Was it not a good year for you? Or
I mean, it was fine.
I feel like for a lot of people, it was like a great year.
Yeah, it wasn't a good or bad year. It was just, obviously I was going through the divorce
you were
then,
in the middle
so that's what it wasn't a lot of fun.
Right.
But you go through it, and then you got COVID and everything else. So it's just a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But by 2021 was a great year.
So, and you were saying this because we were talking about like what led up to the growth, and it was therapy, you said. So when did that come in?
That was 2023. So after I'd had 2.
So wait, there wasn't therapy like during the marriage?
No, we'd gone to therapy.
Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're just saying where it kind of shifted your perspective.
Briefly, right. And then that what triggered it was kind of, you have 2 relationships that ended for different reasons, but similar theme. And so there's one thing that's common amongst that, and you're the common denominator. Like,
right.
You.
Right. Right.
So you got to have a little bit of like, okay, well, maybe what role did I play in it?
Oh, that's
that's
good.
What triggered
That's good.
Seeking out, and I happened to end up running into this guy.
But that took 3 years.
No, because I didn't really think about the therapy side of it until I'd had these 2 relationships that were like 6 and 7 months each. Post-divorce.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me catch up.
Yeah.
So it was the wife and then 2 relationships after. So do you think, so maybe did you jump into them too soon?
No, because they didn't really happen until 2022 and 2023.
Okay.
So, but, post those, you're like, okay.
Yeah, what did you learn from that?
From the therapy?
Well, because you're saying like you had these 2 relationships and then it got you to kind of like look inward. So what was the...
So what I had figured out that I had no idea about were these attachment styles. Are you familiar with these?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I had no idea about this stuff.
So what's your attachment style?
I thought I was secure, which I technically am. But it's
not
about it's not about what you are in calm moments. It's about what you are under stress.
Right.
And what we found out was I was actually an anxious attachment style. Had no idea. And we figured out when it happens and how it gets triggered and so forth. So attachment styles, the difference between how men and women process emotion, and female psychology.
Okay.
So once I understood those 3 things, I was like, oh, thank you, Lord.
Yeah. Okay. Really?
Oh, my gosh. So, night and day. Night and day.
So what was the like common theme with people you were attracting or choosing to be with?
Good people, but what we recognized is that once I am emotionally connected to someone, and that could be romantically or just platonically, right? Close relationship, emotionally connected. If I sense any form of kind of pullback, triggers me.
What do you mean by pullback?
Sense of like not feeling good about the relationship, or they're not as confident about the relationship and I am, or something like that, right? If I sense any kind of distancing or pullback from that like relationship that was all in, and I sense that it triggered. And I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah.
Zero. Which then would cause changes in the masculine and feminine energies.
Right.
Which then changes this whole dynamic and on and on and on. It just steamrolls.
Yep.
So once you understand all this stuff, you're like, holy SHIT.
Yeah. It's pretty
crazy.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your take then on, the alpha female that...
Well, I can tell you this. It's very difficult, and this is just, once again, you go listen to Josh. I have a podcast with him, spent an hour and a half with him, because I was so blown away how a guy who's in his mid to late 30s, who's Josh, is not married yet, but has a committed relationship. Okay? He is so dialed in with this stuff.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody quite like him. So anyhow, I'm like, dude, you got to come on the podcast. Like, people need to hear this stuff. And men need to understand it because he only works with men. He does not work with women. Because ultimately his goal is to make men the best versions of themselves, high value. You hear all these topics, but how do you really execute that? So, he got me dialed in real good, and it was incredible.
So what did he do what's different about you now than before?
How I understand the masculine and feminine, how I understand attachment styles, female psychology, and how men and women process emotion.
Okay, but if you can understand all of that, but how do you actually apply it to your life?
So now having tools to deal with the attachment style, once you start to feel yourself get triggered in any way, shape, or form, those tools kick in, and you kind of, excuse my language, calm the fuck down.
Okay.
And don't allow that energy to go the wrong way, which can then sabotage things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So has that drawn in a good relationship then? Have you
it changes energies,
that?
Right? Because so much, and this is you talked about the alpha female. I know we're having like this relationship podcast now.
I told you we're gonna go deep.
So it's very difficult for a relationship to last long term if the woman is having to be the alpha female at work and then have to come home and also be the alpha female.
I agree.
And she can't step into her feminine.
Yes.
It's going to be darn near impossible. So what's going to happen is she's going to be at work being this boss lady, come home, and if she can't step into the feminine, she's going to feel not safe, not protected, probably not provided for, and then begin to disconnect emotionally from the man that she's with. And then not respect and look up.
Totally.
So therefore, emotionally,
I can relate to this.
Yeah, emotionally pull back.
Yeah.
And then the man's going to sense that because then the physical intimacy's not there. So it just becomes this.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's very true.
It won't work long term. It'll work short term, but then eventually it'll implode.
So why do you think a lot of men, and I'm not like pointing the finger, right? Because of course we have to take responsibility for how we show up in a relationship too. But it seems like there is kind of a problem nowadays with men not stepping up to the plate and like providing and leading and doing work on themselves, and
from what I understand, and I'm not the psychologist, but there's a lot of misinformation coming out to men on how to act. On one end, they're saying, step into your emotional side and be emotional and step into that, right? And then on the other side, no, like be Mr. Cowboy and alpha, dominance and all this other stuff. And there is the blend.
Yeah.
And the blend is called the apex male.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about this. What's that?
That is your ideal male. That is the man who can step into an emotional side.
Is this the Lewis House?
No, this is the Josh Hudson. But this is my version of Lewis House.
Yeah. Okay.
There's that end of it where you can step into the emotional side and provide that level, but also maintaining the masculine energies.
Okay. Yeah. So balance, I guess, just like anything else.
And knowing how to do that the right way, and knowing how to show emotion, but without taking that feminine, masculine imbalance. It's really that's harder said than done on the emotional side.
So. Well, all of this is,
and you know why? Because women, you'll say, talk to me, like share your emotions with me. I want you to be vulnerable. I want you to be all this stuff to a certain degree. Because if too much is happening and too much is going there, and he's putting all his stuff on the table, subconsciously you're going to start losing some value in a way.
That's interesting.
So he can share some, but he needs to share it in a certain fashion and still maintain the masculine. And there's just ways to do that.
Okay.
You may not agree.
I don't know.
But this is the female psychology side.
I mean, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I would like to believe that, you know, if you were in a relationship, that person could be completely open and honest with you and not worry that they're going to.
You would think.
Subconsciously, like, not, then you're going to see them as too feminine.
You would think. You're right. You would think.
That is
you
what
would
I
hope
think.
and you would think.
Yeah.
But if it happens too much and too often from the man to the woman, unfortunately, because of your evolution, and I'm just saying.
But that's a different thing, because if it's too much, then to me, that's a reflection of he needs to do some more work on himself.
Right.
So, but if it's happening, because that is what happens in life, right? You have moments like that. But then he's doing the work, then that's different. I feel like let it out and then continue on with the work.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So.
I don't know. Is it Josh? Is that what he says?
Yeah,
I wonder what Josh would say about that. Let me know, Josh.
He's going to know a lot more. We can tag him in this, and then he'll reach out to you direct.
He's the guy.
He's the guy. Yeah, he's pretty incredible.
Okay, so
I learned about that stuff.
So you learned about that in 2023, and then how different is your life now with those tools versus how you were living before?
I don't get triggered as easily.
Okay.
Calming down, realizing that happiness is within yourself and it doesn't need to be from someone else.
Yeah, that external validation.
And just having a calmness and just like an overall calmness to like, you're good, man.
Were you just kind of like hyped up and?
Yeah, I mean, you get anxious.
Yeah.
Right. Not knowing that that's what's happening. It's completely subconscious, and then you realize, oh crap, like this is happening.
Yeah.
But if you're not aware of it,
right,
you don't even know it exists, which I didn't prior to that.
Yeah.
If I would have known all this stuff, then I would be like, oh, because once I knew it, it was easy for me to like calm down. I just didn't know it was going on.
Yeah, it is really interesting. Yeah. I found for me, I like to. Which I think this
what
is.
Attachment
I
style
think this
are you?
is masculine. I think this is a masculine thing, but I like to fix people or try to fix them or help them.
No, that's pretty normal.
You know, I'm like, here, let me just help you.
Yeah.
I can see all this potential in you. You know,
Gotcha.
Well, you can't fall in love with potential.
True
you
that.
Know? So
true that.
I think being able to look at someone and not just hear what they say, but like what are their actions? You
They'll
know,
speak a lot louder than words.
Yes, they do, and just assess someone in that way, and early on too. And Lewis Howes says, I don't know if you've heard this podcast, but he says that when he did all of this work on himself, and then he started to date, he told himself like he's not going to get intimate like right away, because that can cloud your judgment. And
especially for a man.
Yeah, well, I think
for a woman,
for both,
but
like, that's what he was saying is like I'm not doing that. And then if it was a good match, or he felt like okay, this is going in the right direction after like I think he said like a few months or something, to do therapy or coaching in the beginning. And I was like, oh, that's like a great idea.
Yeah, if two people are in on that idea, sure.
Yeah, like why would you? He's like, why would I do that after like there's a problem? Why wouldn't I do like preventative maintenance?
Well, sure, and most
like,
people go into therapy to talk about the problems.
You know,
and that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, that's genius. But I could see that turning a lot of people off. But I mean, I guess if it does, then they're not your people.
So speaking of Mr. Lewis Howes, since we're on this topic, he was actually in a podcast with Alex Hormozi.
Okay.
And
I didn't hear this one.
And Alex Hormozi said, "Have you heard this quote? Women fall in love with what they hear. Men fall in love with what they see."
I think I've heard this.
This is why women will always wear makeup and men will always lie.
Oh yeah, I hate that. That's terrible.
No, I know, but if you think that through, and then you should have seen Lewis Howes' face. He's like,
yeah.
Oh. And then Alex Hormozi explained it, and it makes some sense because that is truth. Like men fall in love with what they see, women fall in love with what they hear.
Wow.
And so this is blah, 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 blah. Like there's a dynamic there. Men connect physically. That's just how we do it.
Right. I know. You
Women,
ask any man,
women,
what are your love languages?
Yeah, women connect emotionally.
Yeah,
that's just
totally.
how the emotional intimacy, men are physical intimacy.
Yeah.
And that's never going to change because that's just animal instinct.
How we're wired. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy because when we are falling in love and getting married, right? Like we're so young most of the time, or a lot of people are. I guess
we're
maybe
still
not
young,
now.
Kate.
Yeah. Yes, we are. I mean, I don't feel young around here. Everyone's like super. I'm like, how old are you?
Yeah, what is the average age in this office
22?
now? Like 20?
Yeah.
Because I would agree with you. Walking around here for 5 minutes, I'm like, wait a minute. Am I the oldest person?
Yeah,
in
you
this
probably are. How old are you?
44.
Yeah, you probably get the award.
Yeah.
Well, we have Jonathan, your dad. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got that going for us. But no, I'm the oldest, and I'm 36.
Okay.
I feel like I'm the oldest in every room around here. But I don't feel like I'll look at someone. I don't know if you do this, but I look at someone that's like 25, right? And I like feel like I'm the same as them. And then I'm like, wait, how old are you? And
then you hear the stuff they're doing. You're like, no.
Well, I just in my mind, I'm like, you look like my age. I don't know, but maybe I'm just delusional. Like, is that just what happens the older you get? You just think you're.
Listen, keep it young.
I don't know.
You know, whatever it takes in your mind, keep it young.
Yeah. But anyway, what I was trying to say with that is we get in these relationships and then we start families. And if you haven't done a lot of, and I was always into like personal development. So it wasn't like I was totally disconnected, right? But I wasn't, I didn't know myself. Yeah. Like I really didn't. And I made decisions based on emotion entirely. Yep. I've done a lot of that throughout my life, which is kind of it's a blessing and a curse.
You know what the worst thing a man can do?
What?
Is try and solve a woman's problems.
Interesting. What made you think of that?
I mean, think about it. This is what I've been taught, and it makes complete sense. If, let's say your wife or spouse is having an issue, wants to come home and talk about it and vent, totally fine. Hold the safe place, allow that to happen. What a man doesn't want to do is actually, which we all do because we're very logical human beings and we're problem solvers by nature, is come in and try and, oh, sweetie, okay, well, if you just do this, 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 and this, like you can solve that. If you just talk to this dude, no.
I think I do that.
Huge mistake. And the reason why, because what you're doing is subconsciously telling your spouse, don't feel that way.
Right.
It's not okay to have those feelings.
Right.
So then.
I think that's how I grew up, actually.
So then subconsciously, she's no longer feeling safe emotionally with you.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't feel safe emotionally with you, then she's going to begin to disconnect because the emotional intimacy is not there.
Right.
And then the man's going to wonder why she's starting to feel distant and why the physical intimacy is stopping.
Uh-huh.
And it's because she's not emotionally connected to you anymore.
Right.
She's distancing. And it's because you're not providing a safe place for it to happen.
Yeah.
So men need to shut up, stop trying to solve problems, just hold a safe place, allow women to experience the array of emotions that are happening on any given day.
Yeah.
Be a shoreline to the waves coming in and just allow it to happen and just be that rock. You got to be that rock. You got to be the lion leading the herd. Yeah.
No, I think that's good. Okay, let's take it back again to 2023. No, just keep going with what else happened that year, like outside of, because that was your growth year.
Yeah, and then between that I got connected with this girl that runs a place called Deep Space.
Oh, okay.
A Deep Space.
Wait,
and
this is the one. Oh,
this is the hypnosis.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't done this stuff, this is some wild stuff.
Yeah.
I'd never been hypnotized before.
I've never. I haven't.
I had
I'm
no
so
idea what
interested.
the heck this was to begin with, but I was like, that seems interesting.
So who told you about it?
A friend of a friend who was connected with Josh.
Okay, this Josh, he is like.
It's all interconnected.
I gotta meet him.
Yeah, and so went to this place. They do a session with you to kind of learn where you're at, what you're trying to do, blah blah blah, and then they'll put you under.
How do they do that?
Just walking you through breath work. And
are you laying down? Or are you sitting?
Yeah,
okay,
laying down.
You're laying down in like a dark room, or
yeah. And you have an eye mask on, and she starts with the breathing, and then walks you in, and typically, depending on she'll figure out how you get down easier than others. But I always started at top of a dark staircase in a black room.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what?
And then I walk down the staircase.
Oh my God, this is creepy.
And then as you get down there.
To your problems.
Right. To your problems. Open the door to all your shit. Right? So I
I'm
always
scared.
remember in the staircase, kind of like, the dark room here, but it's a dark staircase. It's always dark and it's black.
Yeah.
Everything's black except for the light around the doorway.
Oh.
So when you open the door, you're opening into what you're going to be talking about for that
Okay.
session.
So then you opened the door. Like, do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I remember it all.
And
Yeah.
then did you walk in, or what do you, I'm
Oh,
trying to
man.
visualize
Are we
this.
going to get into this crazy personal stuff?
That's what I love. That's what we do on
Can we talk
Create
about
with
some
Kate.
real estate stuff?
No, that's boring. We will talk about that, but I'm just
Okay.
curious, like how your brain, because if you're hypnotized, I thought you don't know what's going on.
No, you're fully aware.
Let's see, that's so
you're
weird.
in a trance state, they call it. So
Okay.
between being fully conscious and right before you go to sleep, right? If you think about going to bed at night, like there's a period of time when you're consciously awake, and then all of a
Okay.
sudden, boom, you're out, and
Yeah.
you go through 6 hours and you wake up, right? But that time spent was like 0.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that trance state in between there. That's hypnosis.
How long did it take you to get into that state?
5 minutes.
Wow, that's
Some
pretty
people are easier
fast.
than others.
Yeah.
And it depends on how open you are to the concept.
Okay.
So
Well,
for
you
me,
know,
I was like,
all these
bring it
people are
on.
like doing mushrooms and all kinds of. Have you heard of this
Microdosing?
thing?
Yeah, I've microdosed.
No, or where they're just like doing these mushroom ceremonies.
Oh yeah, like
and-
ayahuasca, DMT,
Yeah,
which isn't mushrooms.
but
That's different.
That scares me.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's
Oh,
just,
really?
Yeah. I mean, at some point, yes.
Oh,
It
that
starts with
freaks me
I
out.
think ayahuasca first, and then you go into DMT, which is like more intense.
Oh, I don't know what that one
Yeah,
is.
it's like a cleansing of your soul.
Oh my God, that scares me. I can't.
I'll tell you all about it at some point.
Wait, you did that one?
No, I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do. It starts with ayahuasca, I think, first.
Is
and then
that
that's
is that
like level-
scheduled? Or?
No, it's not scheduled. But I'm
Okay.
gonna do this.
I heard
There's-
people
but
like
you need to do
literally.
it under control, like a controlled environment.
Well,
with
I've
the right
heard
people.
like poop their pants or something in those ceremonies.
I've
Is
never heard of
that-
that one, but you do vomit. You do, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe that person.
It does come out
the
one
other
end. I don't know about the other end, but it does come out one end. You know,
I can't imagine you like
and
go
then
through
you
this
clear
thing and
your
then
soul.
You, oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
so ayahuasca first, and that has to be a controlled environment, people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then you can step into the next one, which I think is DMT.
Yeah.
But
That,
Joe
I'm
Rogan
not,
does this
I'm
stuff.
not ready for
he's
that.
He's all into it.
So, okay. So 5 minutes, you go down the staircase, but
Mhm.
what was, I guess, if you don't want to go all the way there, I mean, come on. I thought
okay.
you were like down for.
So let me, I'll give
the
you
deep
one. I'll give you
discussions.
one. Because there's stuff that gets super personal, but I'll give you
Okay.
one that's fair.
That's fair.
So go down, and before we went down, we talked about what do you want to accomplish in the
Mhm.
session, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I want to try and understand why I have such a hard time asking for help,
Oh. Yeah.
and why I try and just
Oh,
do
I
it,
think this is the one
why-
you talked about on
why I
the
try and just
podcast.
do
I
everything
think I did hear
myself.
this.
right?
Yes.
And I be a lone wolf
Mhm.
versus allowing help to come into life and feeling valuable for that. So
Yeah.
I have no idea that it's complete, because most of the stuff all starts with your childhood. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So this is what happened in this session. So we go down. Same thing, black stairs, crescent of the door, open it up. And I'm stepping into my family living room when I was 9 years old. And it's my mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother. It's Christmas morning. And that was the last Christmas that our family had spent together.
Oh.
Yeah, it gets crazy. So from that, not knowing, but that was setting in stone, because 2 weeks later, I got picked up from school and we didn't go home. We drove past the street and kept going to my grandparents' house.
Okay.
And I'm in the back of the Suburban, my brother and sister in the front seats. And I start screaming, going like, what is going on? I'm an 8-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell me. And so I'm still screaming and blah, blah, blah. And what ended up happening, what we figured out is why I tend to do things alone and not for help, is because my brother and my sister, totally subconsciously to them,
Mm-hmm.
would always tell me to shut up, don't do anything, mind your own business,
Hmm.
don't ask for help, just deal with it
Okay.
as a young child,
Yeah.
right? So it sets in this totally subconscious programming.
Yeah.
And it all started with that. Like we pinpointed it to that moment.
So do you think that you had trouble like receiving love?
I don't think so.
Okay, just help.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like when people, I'm more of a giver.
Yeah.
So when you tend to receive it, you feel uncomfortable.
Well, because you feel weak, right?
I don't know. I just knew that.
I think that's
like,
what I
just felt like
associate it with.
no, just don't ask for help. Just go do things yourself.
Yeah.
Get it done. Like, don't ask for help. People don't want to help you. Right. So that's what I was subconsciously implanting in the brain, not knowing that, no, people totally want to help you.
Yeah.
Like, don't hold yourself away from that.
Right.
So, yeah. It's pretty wild.
That is.
So we freed that from my mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's the whole point of subconscious reprogramming.
Okay.
Is a hypnotic reprogramming, because you go in, you identify it, and then she'll supplant subliminal messaging to reprogram it.
So what about like limiting beliefs as far as
Big point.
with like your business or things like that?
Yeah, we got into all that. Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about.
Is there like one of those that would be good for? Because people have a lot of limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Like especially when it comes to creating content.
Yep.
So is there one that came up that could be beneficial to people listening that you could share?
Yeah, probably with. I think we sometimes put limits on wealth creation, but it's not. See, I don't know what money means to you, but money equals choices to me.
Yeah.
Right. The more money you have, the more choices you have. Meaning, some people make good choices, some people make bad choices.
Right.
Some people decide to come out to Las Vegas and put those choices up their nose in nightclubs.
Yeah.
Right. If you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, Hollywood and people with a bunch of money, they tend to sometimes make bad choices with it.
Yeah. Well, it just magnifies
drugs, alcohol,
the person
sex, all that.
Yeah.
I mean, those are probably not the best choices.
They most certainly are not.
Or you can take all that money and go help a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Give back. Maybe take trips with your family, spend time, have experiences and moments with that money. Those are choices. So it's choices. Like when I see $1 million, I see a million choices. I don't see like all this moolah. I see is what choices can I do with it? How can I help people here, do this here, grow businesses here, have experiences with family here?
Yeah.
Like do these things. So.
No, I think that's, well, and it's freedom too, which one of your core values. And I think that's a problem with how we like talk about money is because money is just energy, right? And
yeah, money is a game.
It's like, are you valuable? Then you typically will have more of it. And then if you do good with it, I believe, then you get more of it.
100%. Law of reciprocity.
So.
Law of attraction, law of reciprocity. You give back, help others. That's hence the whole reason we started the podcast that I started was the Abundance2Give, right? And
I love that name too.
Thank you. Yeah, not interviewing super successful entrepreneurs just to interview them and say, hey, tell me your tactics. Like, how did you become Grant Cardone?
Yeah.
Or how did you become Ryan Panetta? Like, he can go on any podcast and tell people his steps to A to Z.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about, like, if I were interviewing Ryan, I'd say, dude, talk about your faith for a minute, because I know it's important to you. And then how has giving back and helping others created abundance for you in your life?
Yeah.
Because he would go off on that because he knows darn well that by helping others, giving back, leaving a legacy has created massive abundance back to him.
Totally.
And anybody that's super successful knows one thing: if you help others, it will come back to you in a positive way.
No,
so that's why that podcast happened, because I wanted to interview very successful people, but about how giving and helping others creates abundance for them in their lives, professionally and personally.
Yeah, in all aspects. So speaking of faith, what's your, what does that look like for you?
I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe that we are a part of something that is so far beyond our comprehension that we can't even fathom its complexity as a human race. So we have created religions, right, to help us. And the religions are great. I grew up under Christianity. My mom would drag us to church and kicking, screaming as little kids, but we went, right? Sunday school. And I mean, I went to Pepperdine University, Christian school, went to a Catholic high school. I mean, I grew up, I studied the Old and New Testaments. I mean, I've been around it my entire life. And it's not that I don't think religions are incredibly valuable. I just think they're very confining.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, because what I've always had a problem with religions, organized ones, is that they put people in a box and they make you think in a box.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then if you think outside that box,
there's
shame. You're going to hell.
Right.
And I'm like,
well, I kind of,
because my mom feels that way.
Ryan's going to hate this.
No, my mom feels that way. And it's wild.
Yeah.
Because
she's Catholic?
No, my mom's Christian.
Oh, okay.
But a hardcore Christian.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You do you, Mom. But don't cast judgment on others. Right? Meaning,
which you're not supposed to do.
Hence my problem with, and I don't know if it's religion or teaching or that.
Yeah.
I don't know what's doing the washing of the brain, but that shouldn't be that way. Because if you're a true Christian, you're not supposed to think that way.
Right.
So that's my challenge with it, is that here's what I believe. When we pass on, and we all get to do this, we're going to experience something that is so far beyond our comprehension that everybody's going to be like, holy crap.
Yeah. Have you ever lost anyone like really close to you?
My sister.
Okay. So I have too with my dad. Well, a few people, but specifically with my dad. Did you feel like, did you have any experiences after you lost your sister?
Are you trying to make me cry on your podcast?
No, I'm just going wherever it takes us.
I know.
But if you want to cry, you can. Yeah.
I'm gonna hold it in. Emotionally strong lion. Okay.
Was your sister older or younger?
No, she's 46, and then she passed in 2018.
That's very young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Autoimmune disease.
Oh.
So it attacked her kidneys first, then liver, then heart.
Oh my gosh.
And stuff.
When did she discover it?
Well, she had, started having health issues a couple years prior to that.
Okay.
And then doctors couldn't fully figure it out as to exactly why. And once they did figure it out, I want to say it was too late, but she finally had the right health insurance to then go to the right doctors. And that was in San Diego and La Jolla. And it was just spiraling at that point. And so because of her liver function too, and this is to her fault, she's not supposed to drink, right? Because one drink for her is like us drinking 10.
Yeah.
Right. And so
now that you might make me cry.
So her body can't metabolize the alcohol. Yeah. And so 1 is 10 to her. So it just destroyed her. Right. And she wasn't supposed to drink, but then she fell into depression, and then it just spirals, right? And to the point where she ends up in the hospital. And then it's just everything starts failing at that point. So
that's terrible. Did she have any kids?
Yeah. Yeah. She has a daughter and a husband.
How old's the daughter?
Now she's
That's your niece then,
yeah,
right?
now she's 16.
Oh,
she was 11 at the time because it's been 5 years now. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's pretty wild. So to answer your question, did I experience things post? I don't know if you know who Tyler Henry is.
Oh, I absolutely know
Hollywood
who he
medium
is.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously I was in kind of a weird place after her passing, and I had to travel down to Australia for some business stuff. And on the trip down there, I read his book, Between Two Worlds. If you have not read this book, buy the book.
Okay.
Buy the book.
I will.
Trust me. One of the greatest experiences is just explaining maybe what could be between what we consider realms. He calls them realms.
Yeah.
We're in this realm right now.
Yeah.
Here, experiencing what we're here. When we pass on, we're going to the next realm.
Okay.
And he shares what that probably looks like.
Okay.
So going through that, my sister loved sunflowers and butterflies.
Oh,
and
so
one of her
did you
favorite
start singing
songs
them?
is Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond.
Oh my God. I have chills. Keep going. I'll tell you why in a second.
So you see signs all the time, right? So I get out of the airplane in Australia, in Brisbane, and what do you think the song is playing at the airport?
Of course. Yeah.
Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. And I'm like, really? Like, really?
Or did it just make you feel like, oh, you're with me?
Probably, but it creates emotion too.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see butterflies all the time and sunflowers and all that, and you clearly pay attention to those more because it brings it about. So, yeah.
So,
but people are here.
I absolutely believe
souls,
in this because, I lost my father, but in 2019, in May, and then in shortly after that, in September.
Literally a year after I lost my sister, by the way.
Oh, really?
Because it was May 2018.
Yeah. Oh, in May? What day? Do you remember?
I want to say 25th.
Oh, okay. So the end of May. My dad was May 2nd. But shortly after that, one of my best friends and my oldest daughter, Lila, her best friend, her name was Caroline. There was a swimming incident, and she was 5 years old, and she was independently swimming, but then this one day something happened. We still to this day we don't know. My friend was in the water with her and turned around to help her little boy put on the floaties, turned back around, and she was at the bottom of the pool. And my friend is a doctor, so she immediately took her out of the pool and, did everything she could possibly do. The ambulance came right away, took her to the hospital.
This is your daughter?
No, this is my daughter's friend.
Okay.
And she was in a coma for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
And she didn't make it.
Oh
and it was horrifying, as you can imagine, for everyone. And my friend, and then telling my daughter that her friend
and having to understand
away.
that at 5 years of age.
Yeah. But then what happened was, so Caroline was her name, the 5-year-old little girl. She loved butterflies too. And so my friend would constantly see those, and then also balloons. And on her birthday, Caroline, her birthday was July 3rd. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell this story right. So my friend got me a balloon for my birthday in April. And this was during COVID. So they did when people were doing these little parades or whatever.
Yes.
So they did that, and they gave me this balloon. And then I had it in my office. And so that was April, beginning of April. Now we're in July. This balloon had been shoved in my office closet for, a few months, right? On Caroline's birthday, this balloon comes out of this closet, travels around my house.
No.
I have a video of it. Yeah.
Are you shitting me?
It was the
really?
craziest thing I've ever seen. And I just knew it was her. I just knew. I was like, but it made me
How did it come out of the
feel-
closet?
It just floated. I'll show you the video.
Was the closet door open? Was it closed?
Yeah, the door was open to the closet. But I mean, for 2 months.
Things don't just move like
for 2 months, it was in there.
Yeah.
You know, or 3 months.
Yeah, I'm not
right?
trying to second guess. The
No, but I
experience,
mean, truly, it was wild. And I filmed it, of course, because I was like, this is so wild. And then and then at night, because it was traveling. I mean, it went up the stairs into the loft, down around I'm not kidding you.
You have video of this?
I have video of it.
Okay.
And I was just like, this is so
overlay
wild.
this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And but that kind of moment, you could sit there, you could try to explain it, right? Because your brain wants to.
Best of luck, yeah.
But you can't.
Right.
And that's when to me,
yeah,
that's when I know we're all connected, whether we're physically here or not. Yeah. And I've had things like that with my dad too. But that one was probably the craziest. But then here you are saying Sweet Caroline,
Yeah, and read that book, Between Two Worlds. Okay. It was a really good kind of bringing some calm. If anybody's had somebody pass on.
Yeah.
And giving you some idea of maybe what, if you don't know or you have wonders, what does it look like? I think it gives, maybe you're not a religious person, it's going to give you some understanding of, hey, there's a good chance of maybe what's going to go down.
Do you feel like that gave you a new perspective on life?
Big time. Because, for someone to pass at 46, when you have any of these kind of tragic moments.
Yeah.
We got one shot at this, man.
Right.
And it's really not that long time.
No.
So I hear Gary Vaynerchuk, or amazing Gary Vaynerchuk, say, have patience. You have time.
But
my response is, okay, kind of.
Right. Well, we don't know.
But not really, Gary.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you just go about that mentality your entire life of, I have time, I'll get to it.
Right.
Well, then you're 75 and then regret.
Life will pass you by.
The answer is, okay, maybe you do have time, but you need to take on every day as though, look, maybe I got to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
I got to move the needle, because you sitting here thinking I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day.
Or over analyzing it.
Yeah.
And
Paralysis by
not
analysis.
taking action. And yeah, totally. So since you're a dad, my dad and I, we'd have all these like talks early in the morning. I think you had messaged me something about early. I get up at 4 a.m. every day.
Which is, I thought I was an early bird, Kate. 4. I'm like a 5. I'm like a 5 or 15er.
Even when I was like a little girl, I would do that.
What time do you go to bed?
Well, it depends.
Okay.
But I'm definitely not like a night owl.
Yeah,
you know?
you have to be in bed for you not to be completely delirious. You probably go to bed at like 9:30.
I am in bed at that time. Okay. I probably fall asleep like 10:30, 11.
And you still get up at 4.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't feel tired?
What?
You don't feel tired?
Sometimes, but that's just how I've always been.
Okay.
And my dad was like that too. And we'd have these great conversations, and he was really inspiring and like a big thinker, and I could tell him any idea and he wouldn't think it was crazy,
Okay, well, that's good.
Which I love.
Inspiring dreams.
So, but now, that he's not here anymore, I miss those talks, and it's like, I wish I had those on video, So as a dad, what advice would you give your kids to really live their life to the fullest? Or what would you want them to remember? What's like the most important thing to remember? If you could leave them just with one thought.
The same thing my dad has taught me and told me since I was a young boy. Okay. And that is, there are 2 types of people in this world, Justin. There are doers and there are dreamers.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Doers take their dreams and they make them a reality. And dreamers just keep on dreaming, baby. They talk. They dream. I'll do it. But they never take the action. They never go get it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that separates some of the most successful people in this world from people that don't is simply the action. Because there's a lot of smart people.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that are well-read. There's a lot of people that are highly intelligent. There's a lot of people who should be ridiculously successful. But because they don't take action, they way underperform and underachieve their potential.
Yeah. And Ryan does that really well. It's probably my... he just goes.
My 4 days with Ryan, and if Ryan's watching this, dude, this is what I figured out. Sitting in the golf cart with you, golfing with you for a few days, spending time in Cancun, I've realized one thing about you. You're a freaking ninja. And I'm dead serious, and here's why.
A ninja.
He's a freaking ninja. Okay. And he talked about this, but because I was like, I'm going to figure out why and how he's been able to bop and move at such pace.
Yeah.
And do it with pretty good precision. Right? Because there's something going on here. This is unique.
Yeah.
So I said, my 4 days down here, I'm going to figure that out. Right? So what I realized in listening to him is he's very good at isolating his attention on specific tasks until they are really well done. Yeah. And then he can pull out, put somebody in place to run and go. Boom. Okay. Give you an example. He talks about, I had this meteoric rise in social media, and it happened in this small window of 1 to 2 years. And it just boom, 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 right? Exponential pop. And the reason why is because he isolated his attention, became the best at it.
He goes all in. Yeah.
All in. Became brilliant at it, and then able to like pop out and move. Golf, right? He said, dude, I sucked at golf a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it was something I was really excited about. So what did he do? Isolated his attention, went in. He's got, simulators in his house, and he's out golfing, I don't know how many days a week. And he's taking videos and doing all this crazy shots. And why? Because he's isolating attention, becoming a ninja.
Yeah.
And then pulling out and doing something else. Baseball, right? Former professional baseball player, minor leagues. He was able to isolate his attention beautifully and become as best he could, realizing, hey, it's probably not going to be the day for him, but he still did it.
Yeah.
With the businesses, same thing. He was telling me how this last few months, 6 months, he's had to jump into the businesses in the back end.
He's been
because he was trying
involved.
to figure out ROAS and what's going on, and sales, blah, blah, all these dynamics.
Yeah.
So he had to jump in and figure out, okay, we need to isolate the problem. So this is for one of the first few times I need to like go in, isolate my attention, figure out what's going on, and then we'll get it right. I can step out and move. Yeah. And he says that's what he has been focused on the last few months, but he isolates attention so well for a window of time to become freaking ninja.
Yeah.
And then he's able to bob and move. And that's really, really unique because most people, this is one thing I learned about Tom Brady. So I went to a Patrick Bet-David conference down in Miami.
I like Patrick, yeah.
In September. Took my son.
That's so cool too.
Yeah, flew down to Miami, spent a bunch of money to go hang out with Patrick Bet-David and like all these people.
And your son's 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
This. Yeah, and we were sitting right behind, I don't know if you know who Jacqueline and Andy Elliott are.
Oh, yeah.
But we're talking with them, and then like Cole Thompson, who runs closers.io.
Okay.
I mean, the list keeps going on and on.
Yeah,
right? All these
great
people. And then he's getting to meet Sean Cannell and all these people.
Yeah.
And then, Patrick, so Tom Brady comes out. And like we're waiting for this moment because it's freaking Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And my son's all dressed up in Patriot gear and ready to go. The reason why Tom was so good and why he did what he did was because he was so beautiful at isolating his attention to be consistently disciplined, right? Just long enough to be great at it.
He's very disciplined. I mean, he does not drink. He doesn't eat poorly.
People can be disciplined.
He's on another level.
But he's consistently disciplined. That's the difference. That's what...
Yeah, but it's even beyond consistency. His level of discipline is, from what I've heard, like, that is on another level.
His greatest fear was not being successful. It wasn't... His driver was not, hey, I want to be number one quarterback, have these trophies and do all these things and accolades and money and fame and all. There was zero drive in that. He said, my greatest fear every day that drove me to be as disciplined and consistent as I was having the fear of waking up, going into the locker room, and not being ready to play for my teammates, not being the best teammate I could be to show up. Like that literally scared the shit out of me every day.
Yeah.
To make me go and watch film, to do this, to be like, it like drove such fear, which then drove me to like do it when I didn't want to, which then drove like the goodness. Ryan's similar. Like he has the ability to isolate attention for windows of time, to be very consistently disciplined, to like figure something out, to be really good at it, and then he can pop out, bob, and move.
Well,
and that's what I saw is like why he's been able to have these big pops in different areas of his life.
I feel like that's like the...
Would you say that's maybe right or wrong?
No, I'd say it's right. But I think that I think what's interesting about it is it's like an obsession, right? Which some people would say is like unhealthy or whatever.
Oh, no, it's not.
Well, this is interesting because so with Ryan, I totally agree. He does that, and he does that with all aspects of his life. So that's like what living the wealthy way means. So not just professionally, but also at home. So with his wife, he's very intentional. They have date night every Friday. He doesn't miss that. He leaves the office at 5 so he can go home and be a dad, and a husband. And spiritually, he's very disciplined as well. So if we kind of like bring all of this together in this, with Tom Brady, he's obviously incredible. He's an incredible football player, but he hasn't been successful in his marriages, right? Or marriage, or I don't know how many there were.
Marriage.
One marriage, okay.
Yeah, that's right, because he had a child with previous girl.
Yes.
But wasn't married,
So
and then was married to DeJel for 15 years. Listen, I would be willing to bet you that if you went and had a private conversation with Tom, he knows he effed up regarding that, because I don't know their private life, but I do understand that he made a promise to her that at a certain point, and I think they agreed on it, that he would retire. And he did. He did. But then he came back.
Well, that goes back to like the growth plan.
And that
like
was
maybe
was the nail in the coffin part of it. And I'm sure they had some distancing and all the stuff that happens prior to, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee that was a nail for Giselle going, dude.
Right, but maybe if he would have just said in the beginning, like, and I don't know if he knew.
He wouldn't have known it. Like in the beginning of the relationship?
Yeah, like I might not ever want to stop.